It's
Should be a way to
preparing.
do that. I mean,
Oh,
other
probably, but
people that do YouTube live streaming have music, but I don't know what they're using to do it.
any second now.
All right.
All right, so we should be able to go ahead and just talk. So, hey, happy Sunday, wise guy.
How you doing? We
I'm
really have to stop
here.
meeting like this. People will talk.
Oh, well, they're gonna talk a lot then because I foresee us doing this every weekend for the next.
Well, 7 more weeks, right?
Yeah, thank you. I have it in my head how many days there are because of the 100-day countdown, but I'll be darned if I'm actually paying attention to the number of weeks, which is probably not a clever idea on my part because we'll get to like week two
Well,
and I'll be like, oh no, the con's happening next week. How did that? Yeah, it's gonna be
yep.
fine. We are planning things out ahead of time. We are not going to be caught by surprise the week before the con.
No, of course
Cross
not.
my
That never
heart.
happens. Um,
Nope. We are not going to be caught by surprise the week before the con by something that we have previously been caught by a surprise by. It'll be a new thing.
yes.
Huzzah! Let's hear it for new things.
Yes. We
So,
love new things.
2018, the second year in the hotel, excuse me,
Yes.
with the non revolving restaurant roof.
Yes.
I wish it could have revolved while we
It
were
would have
in
been
it.
so nice.
Yeah,
But oh well.
what can you do? As long as our tendency to choose hotels, leave hotels, and then have the hotels go out of business does not continue, we'll be fine. But just in case people want to go find this hotel, it's not there anymore. So,
Yeah, no. So if you want to see the place where the Beatles stayed that one time, uh,
the
that,
internet is your friend.
yes.
Um, we don't have exact attendance numbers, right? But I'm
No, but it was a
guesstimating
little bit
probably
bigger.
between, yeah, like between 150, 200, or do you
I
think you
think we
cleared
flirted with
200?
200. I don't remember if we actually got there or not.
Okay. But
Although
still,
2018, we probably did, but I don't
I'm sure we
remember
knew
the
at the
exact
time.
attendance.
Yeah. It was a lot. It felt like a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot more than we were had ever been at HypnoCon together at that point. Although that mark
Which,
has since been beaten many, many times.
well, yeah, that trend is gonna of having the biggest con we've ever had before is gonna
Yeah, and
continue.
that's a particular habit of ours. But even Beguiled has beat that mark.
Yep.
You know, they've been around
Yes.
250, and
Yeah, and hopefully their hiatus last year as an online only con will not affect their attendance for their upcoming live con summer 2025. But
hope
anyway,
not.
we're talking about us. So with fewer classes, 72 classes in 2018 versus 101 in 2017, which I think last week we said was probably due to having more classes that were longer in length.
Longer in length, and the mistake that I made in 2017 of not allowing enough time between classes
Ah,
probably overcorrected a little bit.
I
Um,
don't remember how much time there was between classes, but that's because I didn't teach any classes in 2017, so it wouldn't have affected me that much.
um, 2017 was the year that I thought, well, let's run this like the NGH does, which was a lousy idea. But basically, let's have classes all through the day and let people decide when they want to take their own lunch.
Um, okay.
Yeah. So,
That explains the perma lunch, I'm gonna call it, that
yes,
is now on our schedule.
yes. Um, that's, yeah, because a lot of people didn't take lunch and then were complaining that they didn't have a lunch break. And I'm like, you're an adult, but okay.
Yeah, but you know what? Let's make it as easy for people as we
Yes.
possibly can within reason.
So
What I find,
for 2018, we cut down on the number of classes to make sure there was a lunch break, And we did have a lot more of the 90-minute classes than we usually did.
Hmm.
That's not something that stayed because, well, various reasons.
Yeah, we'll talk about 90-minute classes in a while. Interestingly enough, the number of presenters did not change dramatically. There were
No,
45 total presenters in 2017, 47 in 2018. I don't know
yes.
what that means.
Uh, Basically, it still means we had the same core of people as presenters. We didn't have a lot of new presenters yet, but that's coming.
Hmm. Although I will say that the list of people in 2018 who taught the most classes is a completely different list with one exception from the previous 2 years. And that one exception is Ariadne,
Yes.
who comes in strong in 2017 with 6 classes and maintains a similar number in 2018. But it's interesting because I'm looking at the list of people who have the most classes in 2018, and we have Ariadne, we have
Hmm.
me because I was feeling insane that year. We have Yoshi,
Hmm.
who is taking a step back from the community right now, but has
Yes.
been a really visible presence. And Jukebox,
Hmm.
uh, for people who are going, oh, that name sounds familiar. It should.
It should, especially if
Uh-uh.
you read um, any kind of erotic fiction on the EMCSA. I think he's also on Read Only Mind, and of course he posts to Tumblr a couple times a day, little short, quick things. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, if
you
you
should have
need a,
heard of Jukebox.
yeah, you only did 3 classes.
Yes, I only did three because we were trying to let the other kids play.
Hmm. I feel like this first half of our conversation today is very statistics driven, which I don't care. I like statistics. Would you like some more of them?
I would. I would love some more of them. Or if you like,
Uh,
I can tell you part of the reason why, like Ariadne was on top of the list again.
why don't you tell me that? And then I will tell you more statistics.
Because she came onto the scene and had all kinds of really fascinating, edgy kind of ideas for classes that
Hmm.
people wanted to see. So, yeah, when I got the reaction from what she had taught in 2017, I was like, okay, let this girl do whatever she wants to do, basically, because people are into it. Um, and so she did have a lot. Now we did have to back down a little bit after that because she
Yeah,
was getting burned out, and that's fine. Um,
she had a lot on her plate there for a
she
while.
did, she did, and but at least she's somewhat back in the community. She is at least a regular attendee at the Baltimore Playhouse.
Excellent.
So we still get to see Ariadne. She's just not as visible. She did
Mhm.
teach a class there earlier this year.
Oh, right on.
Um, so maybe we'll
She's
get her back
also
someday. But
she's
that's
also a
entirely
good
up to her.
yeah. She's also a good example of why it's good and important to have new voices come into the community
Yes.
because every time we get another little rush, I guess I'll say, of new presenters, it is always with classes that, well, I don't want to say always. It seems to be either people who want to do their own version of the very basics, which is always great, different points of view, or
Mhm.
people with ideas that are ideas no one has shown up with before. And the new ideas are what keeps keeps people coming back,
I almost want
maybe.
to dive into a slight sidetrack with that.
Oh, really?
Um, because there are every once in a while somebody will come up with a class idea and they will propose it knowing that it's going to be unpopular with me.
Gee, I wonder if this is going where I think it's going.
Well, I mean, there are a couple of examples of this, but it used to be people had subjects this and subjects that and their titles. They stopped doing that,
Mhm.
which was cute. I think my favorite example of somebody who put in a class and basically dared me to reject it was on the oh God, I'm blanking. It was the induction class. It was
How is
about
it the
the progressive
progressive
relaxation
relaxation?
induction
Yes.
and why it's the most awesome induction ever.
Ah, ah,
And that
ah,
was, I
ah,
believe that was
ah.
Ellie and Katja.
It was Helicopter and Concha, and 100%
And
oh yeah, they tailored that class
oh yes,
completely as a lovely message straight to you
and not only did
about
I put it on the schedule, I showed up for it.
Mhm. And it was a really good class,
It
wasn't
was a
it?
lot of fun.
Yeah. For the record, there's nothing wrong with a progressive relaxation induction
If it's properly done.
unless you like to be bored or don't like to be
Well, and
bored in the
that's
trance.
that's where the
Yeah.
issues come in, is people doing it badly. You know, I actually do them occasionally,
Mhm.
not often. But I do them in 2 minutes or less.
Oh, progressive. I mean, I guess it doesn't say it has to be a slow progression.
No, it does not. And in fact, it's a lot easier if it's not a slow progression.
You know
Uh,
what I'm picturing? The flash paper that magicians use,
oh yes,
where you like touch it really fast and then it just goes zing all at
yep.
once. That's exactly what I'm imagining.
It's not too far off, but
People can
rather than
borrow
go
that
into that,
idea if they want to.
yes. But I mean, we've also had other things that it kind of taught me what that particular class taught me was that maybe I was putting a little too much of my own stamp on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been more open to things that are, while I disagree with them, there are substantial people who do not disagree. So I just kind of let
Mm-hmm.
them through and just kind of like, okay, well, suspension of disbelief.
Exactly. I mean,
There's,
every
there've been
once in a
examples over there.
while, you get a class where it gets a shot and then it's not probably going to get another shot. But
I mean, if the
that's,
class does not go over well, it's not going to get another shot.
well,
If it does, sure, it could.
that's the beauty of the way, for all intents and purposes, for people who go to non-kink related conventions like
Mhm.
science fiction conventions or whatnot, for all intents and purposes, Charmed and all of the other American hypnosis conventions, at least, are fan conventions, right? They are conventions put together, produced, attended by, and run by people who are fans of the thing that the convention is about. That means that you're going to look at a list of people who've turned in classes and you're going to go, oh, this class looks interesting. Let's give them a shot. Not, oh, this person has never taught before. I'm not going to take their class.
Oh yeah, no, never
And
talked
that
before is
means
not
that,
competitive.
yeah, that means that sometimes you get things that are untried. They're new. There are people who are finding how to do the thing they want to do.
Yes. Not every experiment works the first time.
Yeah. I really, really like that that's how it works. I'm
Yes.
glad we don't.
And this is probably a good time to put in a plug for feedback. It's a
Yes.
really, really helpful thing, not
Mhm.
just for us, but for the presenters,
Yeah.
if you give them that feedback.
Last year, we got a lot of feedback on the technical aspects of the con
Yes.
because Goth Socks bribed people. And by bribed, I mean Goth Socks bribed people with song parodies.
Yes.
I'm wondering if there is something that we could offer on the programming side of things to entice people to give feedback, other than if you don't give feedback on the class, we won't know how it did and we might not take it again, because apparently that's insufficient. What can we come up with?
We will have to brainstorm that.
Wise
Um,
guy does karaoke. No.
oh God, no, you don't want to hear that. I mean, I have a really nice singing voice with a limited range of 6 to 8 notes.
Hey, Bing
Anything outside
Crosby
that
had
range is lousy.
Bing Crosby famously said in interviews that he did not have a great voice. He had a range of 6 to 8 notes. He just made that 6 to 8 note range work
Oh shit,
really,
I never
really
heard that.
well. So there you go. You can't, if you go back and you listen to Bing Crosby songs, once you know that, it's impossible to not remember that while you're listening. But anyway, that's a digression. I'm going to give you some
Oh wow.
stats. Here are some stats. Stats that you
Okay.
will like. Out of 72 classes in 2018, only 11 of them were straight lectures.
Yes. I love having the emphasis being on demonstration and experience.
Yes. Yep.
I
38
wish we
of
had more of that
those.
now.
Well, 38 of those classes were lectures with demos. And I want to shout out Daja, who was the one who was making schedules for the con up
Yes.
until the pre-talks year started, because Daja did a really helpful thing and went through and categorized every single class by what it was. So I can tell you definitively, words, definitively,
Yes.
that there were 38 lectures with demos. There were 14 hands-on type workshops.
Yep.
There were 8 roundtable discussions, and there was one group trance experience where I accidentally did therapy. Anyway,
Yeah, well,
the thing about the no therapy rule is that if you don't know anything about therapy, sometimes you don't realize you're actually
yeah.
doing therapy until someone points out to you that you're doing therapy, and you go, oh crap, I thought I was just doing a traditional Greek inspired classic catharsis journey, which I believe anyone with any background in therapy will say that's therapy.
It's very therapeutic. Yeah.
I made a room of like 27 people cry. It was either great or not great. But anyway,
Yes.
uh,
I tend to come down a lot harder on people who are trained therapists who go around to do that
yeah.
because they don't have an excuse. They know what they're doing.
Mhm.
You know, you do not have a background in therapy and therefore would not be expected to necessarily know that what you were doing in some circles qualifies as therapy.
Mhm. It wasn't so since we're talking about me because I brought me up, the
Yes.
musical hypnotic journeys
Hmm.
are supposed to be emotional edge play, right? It's a group
Yes.
trance experience set to music, and our goal, whoever me and my co-presenter happens to be, is to make people feel things as strongly as possible by cheating by playing music, because people tend to be affected very strongly by
Well,
music.
I'm using the
And
hypnotic language and all that.
it wasn't until I want to say 2 journeys later when it turned out that no matter what we did, people who had background in therapy would turn it into therapy on their own.
Yes. And
That
well,
I looked Yeah, I looked back at the one where we actually kind of did therapy and was like, "Oh no, I get it now." But anyway,
yeah.
but anyway,
And
I
you
haven't had a
can't help what
chance.
people are going to do with what you give them.
Yes,
So the ones that take what you're giving them and turn it into therapy,
that we're having a little bit of a bandwidth issue right now. We've got you frozen a little bit, but I'm sure you'll come back any second. Or maybe not. This is where it would be good to have music to play. Let's see how long it takes before we get Wiseguy back. I will say that if you have to have your screen freeze, that's not a particularly bad place for it to freeze. We'll see what happens. I feel like he's probably... Ha! There we go. uh, hold
I'm
on
sorry.
a
I don't
second.
know what happened there, but
Zoom is not very nice sometimes. You do need to change your display name.
yes, I'm working on that now.
Okay. We lost you in the middle of sometimes you can't help it if people turn things into therapy.
Yes, and hopefully they got something out of it. Um, but you don't have to feel terribly guilty about that because that was their decision, not yours.
Yeah. We've never had, knock on wood, we've never had somebody come back later and tell us that they were having a long-term negative reaction to anything that happened in one of those journeys,
Okay.
which I'm very grateful for.
Well,
And
that
like I
puts
said,
you that
knock
puts
on
you one
wood.
ahead of me.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did do a trance exercise thing years and years and years ago. That I didn't think about it at the time, but it had a content-free little therapy type thing in it, and there was somebody in the audience who did react badly to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I've been more careful than a lot about making sure that I eliminate that
Mm-hmm.
from anything. Um,
The thing with hypnosis, and this may be something that you disagree with, I don't know, but it's sort of my standard point of view, is that every single time you do something, it's an experiment.
mhm.
Because even though there are things that probably will happen the same way every time, everybody's different and you don't know. You can't know.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like if you think, I'm going to compare it to alcohol for a second, it's like you think you know how many drinks that you can have, but if you got 4 hours of sleep the night before and you usually
huh?
get 8 hours of
Or you
sleep,
haven't eaten as
you
much lately, or today?
exactly. There are so many things that affect
Hmm.
us up here that you don't think about until there's something else interacting with up here that it really just makes makes me do this. Makes me get a little cranky when people say that something should happen the same way every single time.
Yeah.
Because the
Well, because when
implication
we're
of
dealing
that
with
is that,
people, it'll never be the same
yeah,
every time.
yeah. Well, and the implication of saying it should be the same every time is that if it doesn't work for you, then you're doing it wrong somehow.
Yeah,
And
which is
that,
ridiculous.
I hate that. That's a pet peeve. I don't. Anyway, we can save that discussion for a later one of these because we will have the opportunity, I am sure. But
I'm sure.
let's spend a little time talking about some classes that we are excited to see show up on the schedule for 2025. If
Sure,
people
since
don't
I'm
know,
actually working on the schedule for 2025
yeah,
right now.
our deadline for class submissions was Halloween.
Yep.
We reviewed all the classes. We're 99% done, is what I'm going to say. We have a little bubble. The
We
bubble
have
is not
a
done
short list
yet.
of classes we haven't decided on yet. Yep.
Yeah, but 99% of the classes have been reviewed, and this man has been working his butt off this weekend to make the first version of his schedule.
Yes, and I'm almost. Can I honestly say almost done? Yes, I can say I'm almost done. Uh,
It's the 17th of November. What is going on with the world where you can say that?
well, um, there are some classes that were chosen that aren't scheduled yet, and some of them haven't been accepted yet, and I'm not going to put them on the schedule until they get accepted.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm
Oh,
sorry, committed,
confirmed.
confirmed,
Confirmed.
confirmed,
Yes.
not
Yeah,
committed,
so
confirmed. Yes.
if you're one of, and I'm not going to mention any names, but if
No,
you're
it's
one of the
not single
seven
anybody out.
people who haven't confirmed their classes yet and you happen to be watching this, confirm your classes so we can put you on the schedule.
Yep,
Thanks.
because I'm not going to put you on the schedule until you're confirmed. And that's not just me being a dick. That's actually because pre-talks won't actually show it until you've confirmed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, in previous years, I would just arbitrarily confirm, and a lot of time that didn't work out very well. So now I want the presenter to
Yeah.
confirm. So
Yeah, I
there's a couple
remember there
people who
was,
we accepted classes from, and then I turn around and I see that their availability is only a couple hours a day for 2 days. So, that person is
yeah.
not getting scheduled and they'll get an email. So we don't need to dwell
Yeah.
on that. But
So let's
knowing
talk about
availability
some
for presenters
classes.
is an issue sometimes. Let's put it
Yes.
that way. And I
Yes.
know some people try to limit their availability so that they can avoid the quote unquote bad times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
frankly, that's part of the reason why the unconference is always Sunday morning,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody wants to try to teach a scheduled
Yeah.
class on Sunday morning, including me.
Yeah.
So,
Now, we do, and I want to reassure people 100% if you have an accessibility need that means you need to limit the times that you're
oh, yeah,
available. And we had about 4 people, I think. We are here to help that to do that.
yes.
We're not going to deny an accessibility request. But you're right. I really think that primarily all of the people who give start times of, say, like noon are people who are like, well, I'm going to be up late the night before and
Mhm.
I don't want to do things in the morning. And part of the commitment that you make when you say you want to present at a convention is actually being able to present at the convention.
Yes.
But anyway, let's talk about classes.
Let's talk about classes. Because there are a
We've
bunch of new
chosen,
people that put things in.
yes,
And a
we have
lot of the time, and
chosen.
you know this because you were in the decision room,
Mhm.
a lot of the time the conversation goes as far as, oh, this is a new presenter. Okay, let him in.
Yeah. Or this is a class we've never seen before from this person.
Hmm.
I'll tell you right now, I'll stare straight into camera. I'll tell you right now, if you turned in a bunch of classes and you gave us 3 that we'd seen a lot and 2 we'd never seen before, dimes to donuts, we took the ones we'd never seen before. There's a
Yes.
handy tip for the future. Anyway, oh, I should not have looked straight into camera because the light is behind the camera and now everything is circles. Okay. So we've chosen 5 classes. Five
Yes.
classes that have never, as far as we can recall, or by looking through let back schedules, have ever been on a charmed schedule before. Most of the
Or it's a
people,
different take on a topic that we've seen
mhm,
before.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
sort of what I meant. Most of these are taught by people who are either brand new to Charmed as presenters
Mhm.
or who haven't been around that long. So,
Yes. Or have changed their name and I didn't recognize it.
yeah, here's another tip. Kids, if you change your name, that's great, but you need to let us know who you are. Thanks. Anyway, so first thing I have on this list is size matters.
Yes.
Is it macrophilia and macrophilia, or is it the other way around?
Microphilia and macrophilia.
Yeah.
In other words, microphilia and macrophilia. And this is by somebody
I
named Minx, who is not the Minx that we thought it was at first. Um,
Yeah, Minx
that's
turns
another
out to
thing.
be
If you
one
change
of
your name,
those.
don't try to look around and see what names are already out there so that you're not accidentally mistaking yourself for somebody else.
Yeah, Minx tends to be one of those names, sort of like all the foxes and the kitties,
Yes,
and any name that starts with hypno something. There are a lot of Minxes of various flavors out
yes.
there,
But this
but I
particular
don't.
Minx is
Is a
into
brand new Minx.
microphilia and necrophilia, apparently,
Hmm.
which is fun. So this is going to be a class about, well, in the immortal words of Steve Martin, let's get small. I wonder how many people are old enough to even get that reference. Doesn't matter.
um, I'm old enough to get that reference, but only barely. So I'm gonna go the other direction and just read a sentence from the description, which
Okay.
is utilizing hypnosis, we can create states of mind that allow us to live in a mindset of any reality we can create.
Yes. So
And this,
I want to see the suggestions that they use to make somebody a giant. That'd be so cool.
yes, I'm it seems like a lot of the time when there's a class that's about a specific sort of niche interest,
Hmm.
you only get to see, I'll use IQ play as an example. You only get to see, for example, in IQ play, people getting dumber. You don't ever get to see people made smarter. And so I'm glad that this isn't just a make people big or a make people small class. It's a make people big and make people small class.
In fairness, IQ play is a difficult example because how can you get somebody who is of X intelligence to act like somebody who is X times two? You know? It was
Yeah.
easier to get them to act like X divided by two.
And right there is the beginnings of how you can start doing that to people.
Yes, just confuse them with math.
Confuse them with math. Because we're not going to spend a lot of time talking on each individual classes. So I'm
No.
already moving on. The next thing on our list is let's get dolled up, which
Yes,
is going to be
Scarlet Dahlia.
presented by Scarlet Dahlia with their co-presenter is Void, I've been
Oh, they
told.
don't have that written down on here.
Nope, I got told this behind the scenes, so I will
Oh,
make sure
okay.
that person gets added. But this is a twist on a doll play class because there have been quite a few doll play classes in the past.
Yes.
But this one, I'm going to read again a sentence from the description. It's a makeup class. So the sentence I want
Yes.
to read is from using just a touch of lipstick and blush to create gender euphoria to rendering short term transformations, there are plenty of vanilla reasons to want to learn to use music or makeup. Sorry, I have music on the brain. However, the kinky spaces in erotic play we are fond of also have plenty of ways for makeup to really change the aesthetics of a scene. So this is a create a world class.
Yes.
I'm a big
In a matter
fan
of
of
speaking.
world building. Well, yeah, it's world building
Or
by
build a
putting,
character.
yeah,
But yeah, you're building the character and using makeup as a prop to help get somebody into that mood.
yes.
And that's
And
interesting and it's a new take.
and it's going to be a really interesting class. And it's also going to be a really interesting class that starts early in the morning so
Yes.
that the presenters can then keep their doll personas on for the
Mhm.
rest of the day. And we really encourage people to make the effort to get up early in the morning to go watch this class.
Yes, 8 o'clock Saturday morning.
Yes, you
And
heard it here first.
yes, and they will have plenty of time because of the early start, they'll still have until 10:30 in the room. So
Yeah.
they promise to be done in 2 hours, but they could run over and there is room if they do.
Mhm.
So
Hopefully, they're going to watch this. The
hopefully,
next class on our list, and this is a completely different sort of thing, is deep structures, song form, and narrative. I can't read my handwriting.
journeys.
Narrative journeys
Mm-hmm. By Hypnoprof.
by Hypnoprof. This is a class that nominally sounds like a music class, and it is, but it is also a storytelling class.
Mm-hmm.
It is also a class that covers basic hypnotic elements like repetition anchors and pattern interrupts. And I think it's going to be fascinating. I mean, I would say that because I'm the one who does other music classes, but it's really exciting to see somebody who is taking the storytelling element of musical structure and applying it directly to hypnosis, which is something that I'm fond of doing, and I hope that more people
Yes.
go. Yes.
Yes. Now this will be very interesting to see. And I haven't actually placed this one yet, but it will get placed. Then that leads right into Theatricality, a how-to by
Yes.
Luna Everywhere.
First of all, great name.
Yes.
I
Not
love
only
I
is it,
love
not
good
only does
scene
it tell you
names.
what you're actually talking about, but it's also short.
I advised
I'm
everyone to choose shorter
I
names, and
I'm
then
gonna
all of
force
mine
it
are really
because
long.
I'm gonna reduce the limit for titles next year because I'm getting some ridiculous titles from people that I think are counting words to make sure it fits.
Mhm.
And
I do think it used to be before the pre-talks days. I want to say you gave a title and then you gave a short description and then you gave a long description.
they
And I
still
think a
do.
lot of people are trying to put their short description as part of their title
Yes.
now. And yeah, you run out of
Although
space
even
really,
that
really
doesn't always work.
fast.
Some of the long titles I've gotten are just they don't really tell you anything about the class anyway.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'm probably going to reduce the length of titles next year.
Got it.
Just
But this
because,
class, theatricality.
yes, that
So
tells you what you need to know almost right there. Those three words. Okay, four if you count the hyphen. But
yes, to be
if
fair,
nothing
the
else,
entire class name. Yeah,
that tells you enough to whether you want to go look at the full description or not.
yes. The entire title of the class is Theatricality, a how-to. And
Yes.
yeah, the hyphen does make that only 3 words. And
Well,
this
it
is
depends. Some people
sort of
don't want
another,
hyphenated words.
well, yeah.
But, point being, it says everything you need to know in a very short amount of space and gives them the longer description if they really want to know it,
Hmm.
as opposed to some of the other ones we've had where there's, strange words or strange spellings and eternal subtitles and ugh,
Hmm.
and I
I've
will
been
admit,
guilty of
and
that.
you heard me a couple times. I said I want to reject this one just because the title doesn't mean anything.
Hmm.
I didn't,
So
not just for that
we
reason.
they classes don't get accepted or rejected based on their titles alone. They get
No,
accepted or rejected
and
based
they
on the
don't get
content of
accepted.
the class.
They also don't get accepted or rejected on my opinion alone.
So that is definitely true.
Yes, I may be sort of in charge of the program, but I'm not the only vote, and I can be outvoted. I have been outvoted on a couple of things in this schedule.
This is true. And hopefully, the faith that some of us have shown in those classes will be supported. But
Well, we'll
anyway,
find out.
theatricality, how to sum it up quickly, is a class on building showmanship in order to make a better scene.
Yes. And that is an
And
awesome
then,
thing to be teaching.
yes. Now, we're going to wrap this conversation up with a class that is on, this is from a category that is on every single schedule, which is
Yes.
consent. But
Well, we go
this
looking
is
for some
a
consent classes. Yes.
different take on a consent class taught by Harrison K. Hall, the self-described autistic hobbit,
Yes.
and it is called Consent Over Time. Why are we
Mhm.
excited about this class?
Well, I'm excited about this class because it talks about how you do consent instead of on a scene by scene basis. When you've built a relationship and you're playing for years together, and how does that change what you do for consent? Because I think we all have been there where we've got a
Mm-hmm.
long term partner or possibly more than one. And you do notice that, well, no, you don't negotiate scenes the same way with somebody that you play with like that versus somebody you're playing with one time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of our consent classes are very focused on this scene. So this is a longer view. And
Mm-hmm.
I know we had discussions about whether or not, how do we make sure that this is represented well? And this particular presenter looks like they've got a good handle on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've had them presenting before, so we know that they're reasonably good.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna
we took a chance on this one.
Yep. I'm going to pull one sentence again
Yes.
out of the description, which is, however, what happens when play states go in unintended directions in ways that were organic and consented to at the time, but
Mhm.
lead to unintended consequences?
Yes.
And he had me at that sentence because
Yep.
I know so many people who used to have a relationship with someone who no longer do. And it comes down to, in a lot of cases, those unintended consequences and how they
Hmm.
were unresolved or resolved. And sometimes, if that is not handled in a way that, I don't know the right way of saying it. This is a good thing we
You
have the
have to
class.
handle these things in a way that leaves everyone feeling okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, well, gee, I'm sorry you feel that way, but tough shit.
Yeah.
Um,
And that is why I was struggling to put it into words because dimes to donuts, all of the situations that I'm thinking of, one of the people involved, that was their response. Basically, well, we agreed we were going to do this, and now you say you're unhappy.
yeah.
And that's not,
That's not
yeah,
good. That's
that's
not
that's
not good.
really not.
So this is a nod toward a lot of really toward the real world,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that. So
Yes.
uh, I want to encourage this. Also, we saw an earlier version of this class that was, I think, too wide in scope, and
Mm-hmm.
I wrote to the presenter about that, and they made changes. And I always want to reward people that are willing to make changes and make the
Mm-hmm.
classes better. So
Yeah.
he's up there,
That's what we can all hope
or is
that
it there up there?
I
I don't actually know, so
honestly,
I'm sorry if I'm
I
misgendering you, Harrison.
hold on. I will look it up because the beauty of pre-talks is
Oh,
what
that's
it
true.
does
They tell us.
well. It does really, really well.
I
He,
like that.
they. So there you go.
Okay, so they, so he can go either way. All right,
Yep. So we are at the end of our time,
we are.
which we did a pretty good job. We talked about what we wanted to talk about in the time period that we said we were going to talk about it in. It's almost like you're really good at presenting things, and I'm trying to be better.
You are doing a fine job, Noel. You're
You
absolutely.
know, I just say that mostly because the musical Hypnotic Journey that I was talking about previously, one of the reasons why we schedule me longer now is because that one we misjudged the time and literally had you included, outside the doors, banging on the doors to let people in. So yeah, but that was
Yeah.
2018. I've come a long way
Yes.
in
And
in
so have we. I have learned not to schedule anything immediately after the hypnotic journey, just in case. Uh,
And
we
I've learned to spend 20 minutes telling people why they shouldn't attend it before we
yes,
start.
exactly. You try your best to talk people into leaving. And
Which
you know,
someday I will explain more. But for now, next week we'll do 2019 and we'll find some
yes.
other things to talk about. And thank you, Wiseguy, for
Thank you,
spending this
Noel.
time with me this morning. And goodbye to
See you next week.
everyone out there.